Hey, it's movie night at the Silver Age Cinema. Like a shot of adrenaline to the heart, we have Pulp Fiction, followed by True Romance. But first, cue the intro. Pulp Fiction consists of three main interrelated stories that are told out of chronological order. The movie begins with lovers Pumpkin and Honey Bunny in a diner discussing how much easier it would be to rob a diner than the liquor stores that they're used to. They proceed to rob that very diner. We cut to two hitmen, Jules and Vincent, arriving to an apartment to retrieve a briefcase in a deal gone wrong for their boss, gangster Marcellus Wallace. Vincent explains that upon Marcellus's request, he is to take his wife, Mia Wallace, out to dinner to Jack Rabbit Slim's.
Could you just order a $5 shake?
The night takes a turn for the worse once Mia, the cokehead, finds Vincent's heroin. Aging boxer Butch is paid to throw a fight. He breaks his agreement and bets on himself. He wins the fight and now he's on the run. Butch's family heirloom, a gold watch, is left behind. Now Butch is forced to go back to his apartment even though he's being pursued by the mob. This pursuit ends in the pawn shop from hell. We are introduced to the Wolf, a fixer of problems, and a whole lot of other colorful characters. Tarantino himself makes a cameo. These three tales of violence and redemption converge in an unusual way.
You're the weak, and I'm the tyranny of evil men.
Before Pulp Fiction, which he not only directed but he co-wrote, Tarantino was a video store clerk before he turned into indie darling. He learned film by watching everything, made Reservoir Dogs for basically nothing, and blew up at the Sundance Film Festival. That alone put him on the map. But Pulp Fiction, which was co-written by his friend Roger Avery, a fellow clerk at the same video store, turned him into Hollywood's first rock star director. A guy who took the B movies, the French New Waves, comic books, and blended it into something cool, loud, and totally his own. John Travolta stars as Vincent Vega, a cool, heroin-snorting hitman with killer dance moves. This was the role that gave him a second shot at stardom. He was a huge 70s icon, thanks to Saturday Night Fever and Grease, but Travolta had spent the late 80s stuck making talking baby movies. But by the early 90s, his star had dimmed until Pulp Fiction came along. He was drawn to the sharp writing and chance to take a real risk. He jumped at that part. It was gritty and exactly what he needed to flip his image and make one hell of a comeback. Samuel Jackson stars as Jules Winfield, part hitman, part philosopher. It was the role that turned Samuel L. Jackson into a household name. Here he is explaining getting the script from Tarantino himself.
I'm writing something. I'll send it. You'll get it. I did get the script like 2 weeks later, and it came in a little brown bag with some gangsters on the front of it and said, if you show this to anybody, we'll find you and kill you. So, and I read it. I was like, fuck, really? Yeah, I couldn't believe it. So I just flipped it over and read it again immediately. Okay, if they shoot this movie and let it be what it is right here on the page, it's gonna be awesome. My favorite line from Pulp Fiction is,
what country you from? What ain't no country I ever heard of? They speak English and what?
I like that little segment.
Uma Thurman stars as Mia Wallace, the sharp, stylish mob wife. It had become the role that redefined her career. Before Pulp Fiction, Thurman was best known for period dramas like Dangerous Liaisons and her early start as a fashion model. She was hesitant about the part at first, but after talking with Tarantino, she took the leap. At this point, she was ready to move on beyond the dramatic roles that had defined her early film work. Mia gave her a shot at something bold and edgy, and it became her signature role. Bruce Willis stars as Butch Coleridge, a wore-down boxer with a short fuse that ended up being the perfect left turn for Bruce Willis. As a fan of Reservoir Dogs, at first Willis had wanted the role of Vincent Vega, but with that part going to Travolta, he didn't walk away. Willis signed on to play Butch, seeing it as a gritty, character-driven change from with the big-budget action films that had made him a star. After a string of box office duds, Pulp Fiction gave him a chance to shake things up, and it works. Before I get started with the main review, I want to do a little segment called
What the
Hell?
What the fuck was that guy in the leather jumpsuit? Exactly who woke up one day and said, "You know what this basement needs?" Was there a job interview process? I like to think he's there against his will, but it looks like he's enjoying himself too much. Anyway, back to the review.
Watching Pulp Fiction feels like you're listening in on a bunch of criminals having way too many deep conversations, but you're completely hooked. There's not a lot of traditional plot, but what really drives this movie is the dialogue. Characters talk about cheeseburgers, foot massages, and miracles, and it works. It's more tense and entertaining than most shootouts. Speaking of the violence, it's there, and it's shocking. But it's not consistent. It shows up fast, it hits hard, but then it lets the characters get back to their weird conversations. The story isn't told in order. Characters die, then they show up again, and the scenes jump around in time. You think it would be confusing, but it actually makes everything more interesting. Somehow telling the story backwards, sideways, makes it more interesting. Since it came out, people have tried to copy this movie over and over. The style, the tone, the way people talk. Some criticize it for borrowing too much from the older movies, but it's like one big remix, and honestly, that's what makes it cool. It takes a ton of influences, mixes them together, and somehow creates something completely fresh. Pulp Fiction's supporting cast is stacked with scene stealers. Ving Rhames, Harvey Keitel, and Christopher Walken, they bring the cool. But Eric Stoltz, Rosanna Arquette, Tim Roth, Amanda Plummer, they bring the crazy. Even the smallest roles feel iconic. Nothing is just filler. And the soundtrack, every track feels like it's been waiting years for this exact moment. Honestly, Pulp Fiction is not just my favorite movie. Not because it's neat or polished. It's not. It's chaotic, it's weird, and somehow it all fits together beautifully. It breaks all the rules, and that's exactly why I love it.
I already mentioned that it's my favorite movie. I like it so much that I went dressed as Vincent Vega for Halloween. Now, if I have to give it a rating based off of my enjoyment, it's most definitely an A+. Leave your guesses down in the comment section. Celebrating his birthday by watching a kung fu triple feature by himself, Clarence was joined by a beautiful stranger named Alabama. After the movie, the couple get to know each other over a slice of pie.
Big question is, do you have a fella?
And they really get to know each other back at Clarence's apartment. Despite the fact that she's a call girl, they get married the next day. Clarence decides to confront her pimp, Drexel, and retrieve her belongings.
I know I'm pretty, but I ain't as pretty as a couple of titties.
After an altercation between Clarence and Drexel, Clarence is given a suitcase full of coke instead of Alabama's things. The newlywed couple decide to stop by Clarence's dad, looking for information.
My name is Vincent Cocotti. I work as consul for Mr. Blue Boyle.
But the mob are not too far behind. Our heroes decide to take the cocaine on a road trip to California, hoping to have Clarence's friend Dick Ritchie help them sell it. Through Dick's connection, they are going to try to sell the drugs to movie producer Lee Dunawitz. In the meantime, a mob enforcer catches up to Alabama looking for the product. The movie builds up to a Mexican standoff between the cops, the mob, and the movie producer's bodyguards, with Clarence, Alabama, and Dick stuck in the middle.
Man, I like this Clarence kid. This fucking guy's crazy.
Stealing, cheating, killing. Who says romance is dead?
You're so cool. You're so cool.
Tony Scott, who directed True Romance, was already a big name director with hits like Top Gun and Beverly Hills Cop 2. His style was fast, flashy, and emotional, like a music video with attitude. The script came from Tarantino and had a much darker edge, but Scott gave it more of a romantic, dreamlike tone without losing the violence or the momentum. He approached every scene like it was an action set piece, even the quiet ones. Also, fun fact, he's Ridley Scott's brother, but while Ridley did the slow burn sci-fi, Tony was all about the adrenaline style. Christian Slater stars as Clarence Worley, a comic book geek turned outlaw in love. It was a role tailor-made for him. After breaking out in the cult favorite Heathers, Slater leaned into True Romance to keep riding that edgy, rebellious streak. Already a Gen X icon by the early 90s, he saw this role as a chance to blend romance and violence. After a few uneven projects, True Romance played right to his strengths, keeping his bad boy image alive by finally giving it some heart. Patricia Arquette stars as Alabama Whitman, a wild call girl. It was the breakout role that put her on the map. Coming from a legendary acting family, Arquette already had made a name for herself in the indie scene, but True Romance was a whole new lane. Alabama wasn't just a love interest. She was fierce, funny, emotional, and was the heart of the story. And Arquette's fearless performance helped crown her one of the most exciting actresses of the 90s. Michael Rappaport stars as Dick Ritchie, an aspiring actor and Clarence's loyal but clueless buddy. Here he is with the celebrity shout-out, talking about his experience on the movie.
Yo, Steven, I know you started your channel. What can I say? Working on True Romance 30 years ago, which is insane, was as exciting for me as it was for all the fans who have watched that show, watched that movie, and talked about that movie for all these years. I was a kid in a candy store, being on the set with all those actors, Christopher Walken, obviously Christian Slater, Patricia Arquette, the late, great Tony Scott, Brad Pitt. Thought he was going to have a good career. He seemed so good. The late, great James Gandolfini. My friend Kevin Corrigan, who was in it. I mean, we had a ball. We had a ball, a lot of people. Tom Sizemore, Chris Penn. I had an awesome time making that film.
Dennis Hopper stars as Clarence's dad, Clifford, a tough but tender ex-cop, and though he's only in it for a scene, he absolutely leaves his mark and may have stole the whole show. By the early 90s, Hopper had built a legacy as Hollywood's wild man, with classics like Easy Rider. He had a reputation for chaos both on and off the screen. His career had taken some sharp turns, but True Romance gave him the kind of sharp, biting material that reminded everyone why he mattered.
What the
hell?
What the fuck was Elvis doing in the bathroom? I know when I'm taking a shit, I wouldn't want the King of Rock singing Hound Dog. Anyway, back to the review.
True Romance feels like a comic book, a B-movie, and a love story, all smashed together, and it kicks ass. The dialogue pops with that signature Tarantino weirdness. Characters ramble on about Elvis, comic books, and hamburgers while someone is bleeding out in the background. It's stylized and unhinged enough to make you pay attention. And then the violence hits fast, brutal, but it's very stylish. And man, the cast, it's stacked. Slater and Arquette make this crazy love story believable. They got wild chemistry. He's all heart, she's all grit. And then you got a parade of unforgettable moments. Walker versus Hopper, it might be Tarantino's best scene ever in any of his movies. Gary Oldman stars as Drexel, Alabama's pimp. In a career of unforgettable roles, this might be my favorite. Brad Pitt's the world's most useless stoner roommate, and Gandolfini being scary before The Sopranos was a thing. Tony Scott keeps the whole thing slick and fast, like a music video on Red Bull. And Zimmer's score, it's soft, dreamy lullaby that somehow fits even when bullets are flying. Totally unexpected, and it's perfect. But here's why I love it. Beneath all the chaos, the movie means it. It's loud, messy, yeah, but there's real heart in there. It's about two messed up people who filled something real in the middle of total insanity. And I'm not talking about the briefcase full of cocaine. It's not just a cult classic. It's one of those rare movies that makes you feel like it gets you. It's wild, sweet, violent, and it's totally unforgettable.
Now, again, I'm just giving a rating purely based off of my enjoyment of True Romance. And True Romance, I would give a solid A. What a crazy night that was. We'll catch you guys next time at the Silver Age Cinema.